little bit of snow. Got a little bit here. Move the Tahoe out of the way for some plowing. There's under this mound here is a Pontiac Torrent. Let's see how deep this snow is here. Yeah, a little bit. Let me turn that down. It's a little loud there. Heater going. It's Alaska, of course. We got a little bit of snow, which is par for the course here. It's nothing extreme. So, what I wanted to share with you today, it comes from Cody. Cody, he came up to Alaska 2 seasons ago. He had a health scare when the whole COVID crap was going down or whatever. And after that, he figured, okay, look, you know, tomorrow isn't promised. I need to buckle down, do my bucket list. I'm going to go to Alaska. He had it all planned out. He planned on coming in the fall. He came in mid-August, and he went on the Russian Lake trails. Now, this is down on the Kenai Peninsula. It's a trail that, I mean, runs along the Russian River, goes on up. Excellent trout fishing. You know, salmon get up in there or whatever. But his whole point was to avoid all the salmon fishermen and the hustle and bustle of the summer and go up there into the fall when all the colors are changing and just enjoy it, right? There's this 3 series of cabins, all run by the feds. You know, you gotta put your name on the list, you gotta do all that kind of stuff, and he arranged for the Aspen Flats. Now, this particular cabin is at Upper Russian Lake, and it would be towards the west side of the lake at the base of where the mountain jumps up behind it. Now, from what Cody said, his whole hike in, he came across 2 bikers that were biking out, and that was fairly, you know, the beginning of his hike back in there. He had very limited knowledge. The park ranger had given him instructions, you know. He had a little tow behind cart where he had a couple bundles of wood and his pack and stuff, and he took his time. You know, it took him a minute to get back up in there. He said that once he cleared all road noises and stuff, it was just eerily quiet, and it was so beautiful. The quiet just would not stop bothering him. He said that it was one of those ominous quiet, and he could not put his finger on it and why it was making him so uncomfortable. He's in this remote, pristine, beautiful place. He can hear the sound of the river off to his right. He's loving life, except this quiet just keeps making him unsettled as he's going along. Now, Cody was 69 at the time. Not a fast mover. He was armed. He has a friend up here he had borrowed a 12 gauge from. It was in the little cart behind him, all zipped up, you know, and all that kind of stuff, just in case. You know, he didn't want to go in blindly. And so as he's going along, he said the closer he got to the cabin and the further away from any kind of, you know, population, people, car noises, all that, it just felt more and more ominous, he said. So initially he gets up to the lake and he's looking around and he sees the trail that branches off to his right to go up to where he had, you know, booked this cabin, and decided, okay, I'm gonna head on over there, but before I do, I'm gonna catch my lunch right here and just enjoy the scenery. And so he's sitting there in the dead quiet. He said there wasn't even songbirds, and that really bothered him because he had stopped at a pullout not that far away from the Kenai Peninsula, and there were songbirds chirping all over the place. So he felt really uneasy about no sound. He said at that point, when he got done eating his little roast beef sandwich and stuff, he decided, you know what, something ain't right. I'm gonna load up this shotgun and just have it loaded. I'll keep it in the bag, but I'll keep it loaded. So he loads it up, pumps one in the chamber, puts it on safety, slides it back in the bag, and leaves the bag partially unzipped with the buttstock sticking out a little bit. He goes up the trail and he gets to the cabin, and from the trail it just drops down a little ways to this cabin. And when he's going on the trail that banks to the right, that curves around to where this cabin sits, the mountain's right in front of him. Beautiful. Although to his right, on the right side of the trail, it's a higher bank, and there's a bunch of willow brush and shrubs in there, just thick. He said as he's walking along, it was getting later in the day, and the sun was just above the mountain, right in plain view, but all the trees and the trail was starting to be, you know, shadow cast down because of the higher elevation to the right. He said as he was walking along, he's just seeing the shadows of the trees and stuff, you know, and the wind blew a little bit and stuff, and there's movement of the leaves, and he's walking, and all of a sudden he notices a big dark shadow just casting the shadow down on the trail in front of him, going the same direction as him, but quiet and a lot faster than he's moving. And he looks up, he's looking around, he's like, what the hell is that? Couldn't pick it out yet. It wasn't a bear, you know, it didn't make any noise. And so he thought, wow, you're just being paranoid, calm down. Continues on, gets over to the cabin, gets there, he packs in his stuff. He said he left his little basket tow behind cart thing that was collapsible outside, went in, and it was starting to get chillier in the shadow and the shade and stuff, and he started a small fire with just a couple sticks of his stash of firewood. He only planned on being there 2 days, and he only, you know, he was planning on lighting a fire at night just to keep warm before he goes to bed, and then being up and enjoying the beauty during the day and not worrying about it. He said after he got the fire started, he went back out and his little tow cart wasn't there. And so he's like, oh crap, it probably rolled down the hill towards the lake. So he goes out, guns inside, he's got nothing on him but his, you know, the jacket he was wearing. He walks out to the right hand side of the cabin and starts looking down a little down trail beside the cabin, and he's like, where's my basket? Where's my little cart? Looks there, nothing. He goes back around the other side, because if he had continued down, it just got into thicker brush going towards the edge of the lake. And so he went back around the other way looking for the cart and didn't see it. It's like, where in the hell is my cart? So he starts getting this feeling of being watched. Goes back inside immediately, grabs the shotgun, grabs some extra shells in his pocket, and he goes up the little rise to the trail and starts looking up and down the trail, looking for, is someone messing with me? They stole my cart? Really? Is this what we're doing here in Alaska, this remote place? Why would someone steal my cart? He's bothered by it because he only saw 2 people on bikes hours before, miles down the trail. Like, who's out here, you know, to steal my cart? And so he starts getting more and more concerned. He goes down the trail a little ways and he's not seeing much, and so he decides, you know, I'm just gonna go to the cab and maybe it'll turn up, I don't know. I'm gonna burn the heavy stuff, which is the wood anyway, and the other stuff I could carry if I can't find the cart, so whatever, you know. He's just cutting his losses basically, because it's making no sense. Goes back inside. He's in there, he said, for just until sun was setting, and he came out to watch, because the sun being behind him, yeah, or well, off to his left shoulder as he's looking at the lake, it was lighting up the mountains in the background, and he's just enjoying the sheer beauty of it, right? And across the lake you can see that where the trail continued and whatnot, and wrapped around the bend. And so he's just kind of sitting there, just kind of enjoying the view, and again, dead quiet the whole time. He said as he was standing out there, he started hearing the jingle of the cart made, because it was a collapsible. It folded up and it had these little hooks that held in the sideboards together, and he heard that familiar jingle that he'd been hearing all frickin' day. And he was like, what the hell is that? So he comes back around to where the entryway is for the cabin, and there's the cart sideways, like it had just been moved sideways, but it had been gone for a couple hours. So he's like, what the hell? Heard nothing except that jingling. Didn't hear people talking, didn't hear anything, and he's starting to think, holy shit, old man, you're losing your mind, you know. you better tighten it up. You're out here in the wilds alone. You don't want to end up, you know, doing something stupid because you're not paying attention, you know. And so he's really concerned about his mental well-being. He thinks he's losing his mind. So he goes and sits on the steps, and he lit up his pipe, and he's smoking on his pipe. And as he's sitting there, he's just kind of like just trying to figure out, how is this cart, you know, he's playing everything through in his mind, trying to account for why this thing was gone and now it's back. And so he's really concerned that he may, you know, need medical attention. He doesn't know if he's potentially having a stroke, you know. He just doesn't know. So he's just smoking his pipe, trying to calm down. And as he's doing so, he hears a whoop. He said the whoop sounded like it was standing next to him, and he felt it through his body. Whoop! And it startled him so bad he dropped his pipe. He had a little pouch with tobacco in it and stuff where he kept his pipe. Dropped that at the same time because it was basically all right on his lap. Startled him so bad, he looks off to his left, sees nothing. Hears movement in the brush, but doesn't see anything, and immediately he's spooked. Like, he is, screw this. He books it back inside as quickly as he can. Again, he's 69 at the time. He gets inside, he shuts the door, and he is shaking. He just can't. He's like, what the hell? What the hell? And it's gonna be dark soon. So he's really, really concerned. He had brought a couple small flashlights, you know, nothing major, no big spotlights or anything. So he was really concerned about, you know, what the hell. And as he's inside, he hears the little cart outside being messed with somehow. So he's thinking, oh crap, it's okay, whatever's messing with it again. So he grabs the shotgun, goes and opens the door, and there's nothing there. The cart's gone. It's dead quiet again. He's not hearing movement in the brush, and he's standing out there with the shotgun saying, hey, stop messing with me. I'm alone. I will shoot you. I will shoot you. And no sooner he gets done saying that, all of a sudden he hears a weird noise. He said it sounded like a big stick whipping through the trees, like whack, 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 busting through trees and stuff. And he's trying to pinpoint this sound because it's somewhere very nearby. He could hear it, right? This whipping through the brush sound. And as he's looking around, all of a sudden, from the right-hand side of the cabin, over in the brush between the trail and the lake, this cart comes flying back over and lands in that little opening space in front of the cabin and tumbles off, just mashed to crap. I mean, it was damn near obliterated. And he was really in shock then. He's like, what the hell? He turns and he's looking, and he's got the shotgun, and he's trying to look off into the brush to see what in the hell just threw that, you know, because it wasn't super heavy, you know. It had the bigger wheels on it, but it was pretty lightweight. You know what I mean? It had like these metal grates that kind of folded up and locked together in the corners, but that's all there was to it. It had a bottom that, I mean, he said it maybe weighed 20 pounds, you know, empty, if that, something like that. And he's trying to figure out what the hell, because it had to have been thrown with force to be whipping through the brush and trees. And he said he felt foolish because 20/20 hindsight, he heard it coming from that direction initially, but with the way the brush was, it was kind of echoing back a little bit. So he was, you know, he was just kind of looking at everything in front of him versus off to his right. He said as he's looking over in the brush, he's making his way back inside, and there's the smallest of small little porchway there, and someone had left a couple old sticks of firewood just right there for whoever to use, you know. They didn't want to carry it or whatever the circumstances may have been. He said he went to that side and he was looking into the brush, and he felt comfortable because he had the shotgun and he's looking for whatever is doing this, right? The whoop scared the shit out of him. Now this thing's throwing his cart. It's no good to him now. It's in pieces, right? And so he's mentally going, well, crap, I'm losing daylight. I really don't want to be here anymore. And it's miles back to the car. He's contemplating, finally goes, okay, I'll hold up and leave at first light. And so he decides, all right, enough out here looking around. I'm going to get my butt inside and just call it a night. Lock the door, do what I got to do to keep myself safe. I don't know what the hell is going on here, but this is spooky stuff. Well, he said that there were curtains for the windows. He said there was 3, one on each side and one at the far end, and there was kind of like a small opaque, you couldn't see in or out clearly. It would just allow light in and through next to the door. He said as he was in there, he noticed that all the curtains were on the floor and the little rods weren't hanging up. So he didn't know what the hell was going on outside, but he didn't want anything looking in at him. So he's, doing his thing with the curtains. He's got the little fire going. And he said after a little while, he calmed down. It was quiet. It was just before it really got dark. He went back out, picked up his pipe, his tobacco and stuff, came inside, and was enjoying his pipe again in front of the fireplace, just trying to unwind. He had brought a couple of tall cans of some cold brew just to enjoy while he was out there, not to get smashed, but just enough to enjoy. And so he's sipping on one of those, trying to calm down. And he said that where there's a small utility counter on the wall, it was right across from him. He said that all of a sudden this thing hit outside so hard that whole shelving unit on these little brackets kind of popped up out of place a little bit. Scared the shit out of him because it shook the whole place. He's like, oh well, crap, he doesn't know what to do. He's feeling trapped at this point because it's on in the darkness now, and something's outside messing with him. The whoop, the cart being thrown, the banging on the wall. And so he basically picks a corner, goes over into it with the shotgun, and sits there. He said he did not like feeling like a trapped rat. He said my old bones were aching the whole time because of the walk for the, earlier in the day to get there. I was hoping to have, been able to relax, and this crap's going on. So he gets his backpack and stuff kind of spooled out to where he was a little bit comfortable, and he's rechecking the locks on the door. He kind of peeks outside a little bit with his little flashlight, wasn't seeing anything, and honestly at that point he said he didn't want to see anything. He just retreated back into the corner. Now if you're facing the cabin from the trail, facing towards the lake, he was in the back corner on the right hand side. He said there was what looked like a wood box that was there that he was sitting on initially, but he had moved it more towards where the fireplace was, or the wood stove was, and he was sitting there. He said as he was kind of meditating on, okay, calm down, enjoy your beer, calm down, whatever it is, it'll be morning, soon enough, and we'll just hike on out of here, no big deal. Well, he said at some point he ended up falling asleep. And when he woke up, he said he doesn't know what time it was in the morning because he didn't check until much later, so he couldn't pinpoint exactly what time he was woken up, but he was woken up to a bump, 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 bump right behind his head on the outside of the cabin. He said the initial bump gave him a startle. He thought he was going to have a cardiac incident, because he was so startled by the initial bump, but it continued, it bumped about 6 times, he said, just bump, 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 bump. He's spooked, and he's trying to calm down. He's damn near hyperventilating, and he said he heard another whoop, and the whoop came from by the front door. Whoop, just loud. He said it reverberated through the little place, and he was shook. He felt like he was being challenged, and he wanted no part of it. Cody said he then got up with the shotgun, walking over to the door, and as he's walking towards the door, he cleared about half the distance, moving slow, real on edge, and he hears a boom, bang against the wall behind him where he was just sitting. Turns around, looks, doesn't see anything, walks back over, takes a flashlight, moves the curtain and beams outside, and he sees dark movement, and it's moving up from his, about center, right outside, off to the right. And so immediately he starts yelling, hey, get out of here, I have a gun, I will shoot you. You come up to the door again, I'm gonna shoot you. Dead quiet. Goes, looks at the door, everything's secure still and all that, so he retreats back into that corner, and at this point the fire had died down, and he just sat there. He said he sat there for a while, and it was just dead quiet, until he finally fell back asleep. He said he woke up roughly at first light, maybe a little after, because he's unfamiliar with Alaska. A little after first light when he woke up, he said he was immediately, the sleep he got from when he fell asleep to when he woke up, he felt a little more rejuvenated, didn't feel as worn down from the hike earlier yesterday. And he starts looking around aggressively out the windows. He wanted to put eyes on whatever in the hell this thing was. And he sees nothing. It's dead quiet. And he's over it. You know, he's all right. He packs up his stuff. There's enough daylight for him to see clearly down the trail and all that stuff. He said he leaves the cabin. He put on the backpack that he initially was carrying in his little thing. He had the bag for the 12 gauge strapped to it, and he was carrying the 12 gauge. And he starts walking his way back. He said as he was approaching that same spot, not far from the cabin, off to the right, going on the back trail, because the trail continued on past this cabin and wrapped around the lake, around this mountain. I didn't look at the map to see how far it went, but it obviously continued on. But anyway, he hangs it to the right, going back towards the parking area. He said when he reached the point where he saw the shadow from the day before when he was coming in, he said he heard another very faint whoop, almost like it was trying to be quiet, making the noise, a whoop, whoop. And he said it creeped him out bad. He stood there for about 5 minutes, pointing the shotgun into the brush, didn't see nothing, just heard those two whoops, and after a minute he figured, okay, I better get moving, I better keep moving. He gets down to where the trail junctions, and he hangs his left to continue on, wrap around the Russian River and stuff, and follow it down. He said that when he was about, you got to understand, once you're leaving that lake, you got mountains on your right hand side that go up pretty steep. It's almost canyon like, not quite as tight, but canyon like. You got a mountain on your right and a mountain on your left, and it's pretty narrow in through there. And he said as he was going through that point, he started hearing songbirds again. And he felt a little more relaxed and a little more relaxed. And he's walking holding this shotgun. And with the bird sounds and everything, he started feeling foolish about carrying the gun, but he didn't know what he was dealing with. So he said he carried it for about another half mile. And as he was walking with it slung on his shoulder, just resting on his shoulder as he was walking, he noticed some bicyclists coming towards him. And they're all waving, oh, hey, is there a bear? Was there a bear around? Because they seen him with the gun. They assumed, hey, you know, they weren't questioning why he had a gun. I mean, friggin', it's Alaska. Everyone's got guns out in the woods. But they were asking if he had just seen a bear because they didn't want to ride their bikes into it. He goes, no, I didn't see a bear. And he tells these people everything that happened from the day before through the night and up until that point. And just kind of look at him. And they're like, well, are you sure it wasn't a bear? And his response to him was, bears don't throw hand carts. They don't have thumbs. They don't throw stuff. The people just kind of looked at him and were like, man, that's oof, be safe. And they continued riding up the trail. I mean, he didn't warn him. He tried to tell him exactly what happened, and the people just kind of dismissed this guy. You know, Cody was like, he wasn't sure why they were just so nonchalant about it. He took it as they didn't believe him. So he was like, screw it, whatever. He makes it back to his car, he puts everything up, and he drives around, and he finally found the park ranger over at Skilak Lake at the boat launch, because he was trying to find a park ranger to report this, right? He said when he found the park ranger that he had seen the day before, who was giving him advice about, you know, oh, once you get up here, you got to hang the right there and yada yada to get to this cabin. The guy sees him, and the ranger sees him and is like, oh, hey, you're done with your trip? And he goes, hey, look, you know, tells the park ranger everything that happened. Park ranger goes, well, technically you weren't there 24 hours. You should get a refund. And he's like, wait a minute, didn't you hear what I said? Something threw my cart, something whooped at me, it banged the cabin walls, you know, like, you're gonna make a report of it? He goes, yeah, I'll make a report of it, but because you weren't there that long, you could probably get a refund, right? And Cody was blown away at how dismissive this guy was. He said the guy was probably mid-30s, looked like he was maybe former military, and didn't give a flying rat's ass about what Cody was talking about. And so he left. He went back to Anchorage, dropped the shotgun off to his friend, visited, you know, did a little bit of a road tour for the time he had left, you know, being up here in Alaska, and went home. I told, like, he asked me, is that normal? I said, well, it's not uncommon for, you know, people to be dismissed. But I'm gonna thank Cody for sharing that. I think this is video number 200. I'm not set up to do lives, so as soon as I am, I'm sure I'll do a live at some point, maybe have a roundtable discussion with a couple buddies on theories and other stuff. But at this point, I'm just not set up to do lives, nor do I have the patience. I got too much background stuff going on. I want to thank Cody for reaching out, and Cody is another person who was referred to this channel by a subscriber. I want to thank that person. They know who they are. I appreciate it. You know, the last few encounters from going years back, not this one's more recent, of course, but more of the elders coming forward is all thanks to the audience, and I appreciate you guys. It's really hard to get people to share in some of these experiences, you know. It could be hard, you know. Some of the old timers are still chock full of superstition, and they, you know, out in the village and out in remote Alaska, there's a very strong superstition that you don't speak about them. It'll bring them in, it'll bring a bad omen, and so on. And you know, it started somewhere, so obviously it's based in some kind of reality. I personally view it as public safety versus the superstition, but that's not for me to judge. Anyway, thank you, Cody, for sharing, and let's see, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining me.